right, hello everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Earth's Mightiest Comics. This is the show where every week we love comics, but sometimes we hate comics, and it really just depends on the day. Would you say today that you love or hate comics, Sebastian?
This week I actually kind of liked it for the most. Yeah, okay. I mean, let me look at this thing. Let me look at this Daryl.
This is a weird intro. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, this one was an okay week.
Yeah. Anyway, this is a show in our kind of more standard intro that is actually more of an indication of what the show actually is. It's a show where we talk about new comics every week. We read a bunch of comics that came out. I usually say this week. It's actually the week prior, and then we talk about those comics because, you know, we're a week behind. So anyway, this week, we're talking about a whole bunch of stuff, including new issues of Incredible Hulk, new issues of Batman, Cobra Commander, Justice League vs. Godzilla vs. Kong, just a whole bunch of stuff. It's very exciting, but we're going to start off with the book that just continues to take the world by storm, the comic world by storm, and that is Ultimate Spider-Man. This is issue number 2. Just the level of fucking hype behind this series, I don't think I've seen it in my lifetime. Now, granted, I've only been like back kind of collecting weekly comics for, I don't know, little under 2 years, but I just don't remember this like level of hype and just general buzz around a book ever in my life. Like the hype behind this series is just really quite astounding. So this, as I said, is issue number 2. It is written by Jonathan Hickman. The artist is Marco Checchetto. So last episode that we talked about this, I titled that episode, "Does Ultimate Spider-Man Live Up to the Hype?" My answer there essentially boiled down to, like, I thought it was good, and I thought it set up a lot of really cool and interesting things, but I was not quite as high on that issue as everyone else kind of seemed to be. Again, not that I disliked it. I thought it was very good. I'd give it like an 8, and I think, you know, a lot of the stuff there was really interesting to me, and I think it could have built up on it really well. But I was also kind of like, I'm going to need to read like more of this before I can really myself get fully on the hype train that everybody else is. After this issue, I'm pretty much convinced that this issue absolutely does live up to the hype. This series absolutely does live up to the hype, because goddamn, it's just so good. Like, I was expecting to like it because I like this creative team, but I was really pretty blown away by it. First of all, we have a new suit right off the bat. There's a bit of a time jump here. It doesn't seem like there's much of one, because Peter is kind of still learning how to use his powers and stuff. And this is the first. This issue sees his first like fight against a villain, like a super villain.
Yes.
But there's a bit of a time jump because he has kind of, you know, there are newspapers that are covering that he is around. So he's been kind of active for, I don't know, maybe a week or so. So yeah, we do have a suit right off the bat. It's like this weird, it seems like, from what I understand, it was sent by Tony Stark, this version of Tony Stark, just like with the spider, it kind of seems like. There's like one throwaway line of dialogue that kind of made me think that. What do you think of the new suit, though? Just, I think it's cool, but I'm kind of glad that they seem to not be really using it for long.
Yeah, I got a little thrown around because I don't know why, but for some reason, I don't know if this is just like my memory playing tricks with me or something, but I swear at the end of the last issue, right, we saw him standing there, but like in like, you know, the classic red and blue Spidey suit, you know? I don't know if I don't know why. That didn't happen. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't know why I remembered that at all. So when like coming into this one, I was like super thrown away. I was like, did I fucking like miss an issue somehow or something?
Yeah.
So
no,
like,
that didn't happen. He was standing on a roof with like rain dramatically going around him after he let the spider bite him. He was not in a suit. No. Yeah,
I don't know why I remembered him being like, maybe it was just the covers and stuff like that I remember that. But like, so I was like super like thrown around. I was like, what happened here?
Yeah.
What happened to his like original suit? And so the black suit, like, it's fine. Like, it's just like, it's a symbiote suit but without the white, really.
Yeah,
like,
exactly,
realistically. Yeah. You know, the weird, like, I'm assuming it's like nanobots that, like, you know, he doesn't actually have to like take the mask off, stuff like that. You know, that,
I want to say he said it was like Picotech or something, but I don't know if that's correct.
Yes, I didn't even miss that. I missed that part completely. But it's like, I just like the way it's like kind of drawn, because it doesn't look like nanobots. It kind of looks like dust in a way. Like, it just like dissipates in a sense. Like when you'd see him like take off the mask and stuff, and I thought like it was just drawn cool. It's drawn differently from like, because nowadays it's always about like the nanobots and all that stuff like that. So like it was cool to just kind of see it like different. I don't know. But
I agree, although I would say I didn't get a dust feel as much. I got more of like a shadowy kind of vibe from it, where it like melt into things.
Yeah.
So he's kind of, he's doing his he's just getting used to his powers. He does he does run into the Shocker, this version of the Shocker. And he just gets destroyed, which is so fun. Like the interactions with Shocker both times are really fun, because like Peter's kind of trying to like test out the quips and kind of get like that part. Like he's kind of getting settled into the Spider-Man persona. And then the first time Shocker is like, he's about to rob a bank, and he's like, Peter shows up and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna take you down. And Shocker's like, oh, well, I'm really glad you showed up here today. Now I'm not gonna rob this bank, and I'm just gonna go home. And you really helped me out here. And Peter's like, oh, really? And Shocker's like, fuck no. The second time, again, like, he's about to rob another bank, or I think he actually just robbed the bank the second time.
I think he just robbed one.
Yeah. And Peter again sees him and again starts to do that kind of creepy dialogue. And Shotter's like, listen, man, I just like my family is sick and I can't afford the payments. Like, this is the only way I can do this. And then Peter's like, oh man, I'm so sorry. And it's like, wait a second. Are you lying to me? And then again, like both times, Shocker just like does the Shocker punch thing and just knocks Peter off the roof into a dumpster both times. I really hope it just like becomes a running gag of Peter just being knocked into dumpsters over and over again. Like I think that's so funny. And yeah, so I really like that Peter he doesn't win a single fight in this issue. Like just like a villain that is like he's like Shocker is C-list, I would say. Maybe you could make a case for him being B-list on a good day. But like I just love that like someone is kind of, low on the villain totem pole as Shocker can just take him out no problem like this. So yeah, I think that was all really good. There's also, I like the interaction between Ben and Jonah in the Turkish bathhouse.
Yes.
Where I'm really liking their dynamic. I think that it's really interesting. This one also, I was kind of surprised because one of the World Council dudes from Ultimate Invasion shows up to talk to Fisk and is like, hey, Fisk, you gotta keep me happy, otherwise you're not gonna run New York anymore. So that kind of threw me off guard a little bit, because I don't know why, but I kind of just assumed that this series would kind of just ignore the Ultimate Invasion and all the Maker stuff, which is, I mean, it doesn't make any sense because they're both written by Jonathan Hickman, so I'm not really sure why I thought that, but yeah, I mean, just like really great. I think like just on the whole, I think the big thing that I really stuck out to me here is that I really like how Peter is kind of like, I think the way he's getting into the swing of things is really fun and organic. Like, especially like he's like in his mid-30s, and I think his reactions to all of this are just, they feel really realistic. Granted, I'm not in my mid-30s, so I don't know what it's like to be in your mid-30s, but like it feels really like realistic and authentic to that situation. I mean, like he gets beat up by the Shocker and he just immediately just is like, oh fuck, I can't do this, and he just like starts like eating a pint of ice cream on the couch in his Spider-Man suit with like just the mask kind of partially pulled up. I thought that was really fun. So I'm really digging his interaction, just his reactions to everything, and just the way his character's kind of getting used to all this. I think it's just really fun.
No, yeah. Like you said, I also really enjoyed the fact that like he doesn't, he still doesn't really know what he's doing. Like in it, he's like swinging and stuff, and he's like, he literally says like, I've gotten used to swinging and stuff. Like I still don't really know how to stop, as he like crashes into a water tower, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so it's like he's clearly practicing, and he clearly does not know what he's doing, which obviously shown by not even be able to deal with the Shocker. Which I think both times were really great. Like it's really great because the first time he just got completely wiped the floor with. The second time he was able to land a blow, and even the Shocker was like, I think you just broke some ribs, and Peter was like, my bad. I don't even know my own strength yet. Like he still doesn't know how to pull his own punches. Like main six like basically has been always does essentially. So I think it's just really great just to see like a mid-30s Peter Parker try and learn how to be Spider-Man, but like also still makes it feel like kind of like a young Peter, because like you think as like a mid-30s he wouldn't be like throwing quips here and there, but he still does, and it feels natural.
I think for me the way I kind of interpret that is like he was just like missing that part of him because he never got the spider bite. So as soon
Yeah.
as he like gets that part of his personality comes back, and he's just like, oh yeah, just like it naturally kind of, even though it's a different universe version of him, it's just like kind of so core quintessential to Spider-Man that as soon as he gets that bite, he's like, oh, okay, this is who I am now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, no surprise, but the art is really great as well, because Marcus Checchetto, as always. Yeah, I just kind of the way that I feel about this is that, like, and this isn't necessarily surprising me, because first issues, by their design, have to build up a lot of stuff, and they have to set up the entire thing, and, like, you can do that really well, absolutely, and I think this series did do it quite well, but as a result, I think a lot of times that setup can often feel quite like inorganic, and like it's kind of like it has to be there so the story can get going. Not always, sometimes it's the opposite, where first issues are great and then they just fall apart like 3 issues in. But I think like with the really strong setup out of the way, and like we're still doing the origin, yeah, sure, but like it's allowed to just have that really fun, just very Spider-Man vibe. So yeah, I loved it. This is automatically, like, straight off the bat, again, as with last week, pick of the week for me. Just fantastic. I gave it a... What am I giving it? Ah, God, I have it at a 9. I want to give it a 10.
I think, I think I'm struggling with whether or not it should be my pick of the week, and I honestly think it will be, because it is my highest rated thing that I chose this week, and so yeah, I'll just say this one is my pick of the week, and I gave it a 9.
I'm kind of struggling, because when I read this, I was like, yeah, that's a solid 9, really solid 9. But
yeah.
Now I'm just like, well, I can't think of anything that I think is wrong with this comic, so maybe I should just give it a 10. Okay, I'll keep it at a 9 for now, but I think very likely that an upcoming issue will probably get a 10 from me. So regardless, I think this is like skyrocketed up to be essentially like very high in the running for the best book that Marvel's putting out right now. Because I mean, it's like this, Avengers Twilight, Immortal Thor. Like those are the 3 immediately that I'm thinking of. Like, I'm like every issue, I'm like, yeah, let's go. So
yeah,
maybe like Moon Knight on a good day is also up there. But yeah, fantastic, absolutely. Just like if you're not on the series, which everybody who reads comics seemingly is, but like get on the series because it's fantastic.
Fantastic. What do we want to talk about? Let's stick on the Marvel train and let's do Daredevil.
All right. This is Daredevil issue number 6, written by Saladin Ahmed. I believe it's Aaron Tudor back on the art this time. So I think this is good. I actually think in a rare instance, I am rating a Daredevil issue lower than you are.
Yeah.
Here's the thing with this one.
Gotcha.
I do like it. I think it's good. But my problem with it is I think there's a little bit of missed potential, particularly with how it handles the interaction with Doctor Strange. Because I just wish they had done more with it. Like, I talked about this last issue even, where I said, like, I think it was really smart to have Doctor Strange as the, like, team up for this issue and to have him as the cliffhanger for last issue, because we have been now conditioned to think that anybody who recognizes Matt, like post him coming back from the dead, is one of the 7 deadly sins.
Yes.
And like Matt kind of knows this too now, because at the end of that last issue, it was at the end of the last issue that he first kind of recognized, like, oh, this is the 7 deadly sins.
Yes.
And like, hey, all the people who have recognized me have been possessed by one of them. So I think there was kind of some missed potential here, because there's a bit of a time jump even. Like, we start this issue and Doctor Strange is nowhere to be seen. Matt's just praying on a roof. And then Doctor Strange does come down and they have a conversation. But I think, like, for me, I think it would have been more interesting if we had picked up right after that cliffhanger and Matt is immediately suspicious of Strange. I mentioned last issue that, like, Strange is a good choice because we have been conditioned to think that it's the 7 deadly sins, but Strange also could just know who he is because of, like, just magic shit, So I think it would have been just a cool way to subvert audience expectations if it happened up right after last issue, and Matt just immediately, he does not trust Strange because of all the other demons that have possessed all the people he knows. I think, like, I think it would have been interesting for Matt and the audience to not know if Strange is Strange or if he's a demon, and then, like, that could be some just interesting tension and conflict, and then eventually, like, Strange is able to prove that it is him, and he just kind of knows through magical means and stuff. But instead we just get a small time jump, and then Strange just like pushes Matt into a weird fever dream hell vision, and that's the end of that interaction. It's like I think that part of the issue is the weakest part, because then it does get really weird and trippy, and like that he does go into that trippy dream sequence. And it's very cool. There's like lots of big. It's good to have Aaron Tudor back on art. The art is very good, and there's all this very big panels and weird demons, and there's a really cool panel where like showing a bunch of different versions of Matt and figures in his life, and like it all looks great, and it culminates in. So this is actually, I mentioned this briefly last week to you, Sebastian. The White Angel Daredevil suit is back. How do you feel about that one?
This is my first time seeing it.
Yeah, but what do you think about the suit?
It's white. It's very white. Right. So the red, could kind of blend into darkness, whatever. But the white, does not. I feel like, and so I don't know. You can kind of kick stealth out the door, but like, who knows? I don't know, man. People are gonna see him bleed.
Yeah.
Quote Deadpool there.
Okay. I like the white suit. I don't think it looks as good here as it did in the last run. Because I just think like ultimately. It was going to be an uphill battle anyway, because it's just really hard to top Marco Checchetto's art regardless. But I actually don't think the suit really fits with Aaron Tudor's art style. I did like the suit a lot when I first saw it at the tail end of Zdarsky's run. And I think narratively it fits to be in both runs. I think it fit really well there. And it does kind of fit here with Matt kind of like trying to banish the darkness in that hell dream, culminating in a suit turning white and stuff. I just don't know if it fits with the art style of this artist all that well though. And it does feel a little bit weird to see it back so soon, because like that suit like popped up in July of last year, which I know like at this point is like, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 months ago. But it's still like, that's not that long. Like it's kind of strange to see it back so soon again. Regardless though, then he fights some of the Heat gang members. Then he shows up at the Bar of No Name where Wolverine be killing people. I don't think I don't think Krakoa would like that, because that's one of Krakoa's just foundational rules is kill no man. They don't care if you kill mutants, because mutants can be resurrected. Yeah. But also right now Krakoa is doing a big Fall of X, so I'm sure they've probably got a lot of other stuff going on. I don't know. Where are you at with this one?
Well, okay, so man, where am I at with this one? I think I rated it maybe a bit high, but right, from my memory here, the trippy like sequence thing that like through the door. I don't know if that was like necessarily vision, or if that was like actually Strange, like pushing him into hell.
Yeah, it's a little bit tough to say. Yeah.
Because like it's tough to say, like you said, but I'd like to believe that like it wasn't like just a vision. It was like some sort of like other plane or something like that, maybe
like a purgatory in between the real
world and hell. Maybe like that, because then it explains the white suit a bit better, I feel like. And then it was just it's just after that I kind of don't like him beating up Heat members, and then I feel like so the white suit, right, it makes him seem a bit more angelic, right?
Yeah.
He's supposed to be the devil, but like the white suit makes it seem more angelic. So the shot of him standing over one of the henchmen with like the staff like pressed against his jaw, and basically being like, "You better give me a name, or I might slip." I might slip and just absolutely dislocate your jaw. And I'm just like, that's just like such a weird. Like, it just does not suit that at all. And so that's how we get to the Bar with No Name, where we eventually see Wolverine, who I am assuming, I think it's safe to assume that he has a 7 deadly sin.
Yes, he definitely does. Yeah.
And also we didn't mention this, but in the Dreamscape, we learned how the 7 deadly sins.
Yes, I was just about to mention that. Yeah.
Yeah. So with Matt escaping hell, he accidentally brought along like his sins. It's like right.
Yeah. The way I kind of interpreted it is they just kind of followed him out the door, but I don't really know if that's actually what happened. Yeah.
Essentially, it was just the 7 sins of man, I guess. Like they just snatched onto him himself. So yeah, they followed him out. But yeah, I think man, I had him at an 8. I have it at
Yeah.
an 8, and I think I'm gonna drop it down. I'm gonna drop it just I'm gonna do it a 7. I'm gonna give it a
Yeah.
7 here. It was good. I didn't dislike it or anything like that.
Yeah, I have it at a 7. I did like it. And again, I think like I'm glad that it does seem like it's on a good path, I think. But this individual issue I don't think really stood out as being anything kind of incredible. Okay, I'm gonna talk about the Bone Orchard Mythos Tenement number 9. This is the second to last issue of this series. And it's really good. I like it a lot. This one kind of deals a lot with the first of all, written by Jeff Lemire, the artist is Andrea Sorrentino, as has been the case with every issue so far. But so yeah, it's just a really good, solid issue again. This one deals a lot with the origins of the Bone Orchard Mythos. So like a couple issues ago, we had the Revelations issue with Felix, where we kind of saw his whole exploration of the tenement building, kind of how that kind of got started. This is going like all the way back to the start of this entire thing. So we got some more context about how this kind of all started and who the main villain is, which seems like it might be like Eve's son, like Adam and Eve. And so we got so we saw him kind of growing to power, and then also what the deal is with the 7 gods who were revealed to have been like split from him. It seems from what I understand that they were like followers of him in the mortal world, and then to like ensure that they wouldn't turn on the main guy, I don't think we know his name, but like once they became kind of more powerful, to make sure they didn't turn on him, he like I guess infected like all of them with a piece of his essence or something to keep them like subservient. So that's kind of what the origin part of that was. And then we turned back to in the tenement building. They're on floor 2, which is like the heaven floor, where just everything looks like heaven, except then it also kind of starts like turning kind of twisted, where like apples are rotting and stuff, and there's some creepy stuff towards the back half of the issue. But also I realized there's some I think really good character building stuff here. I think like the conversations between Justin and that one character whose name I can never fucking remember, and then also between Gary and Isaac's mom, I think those are really good conversations. I think they work really well. Again, we are finally at the point where like I no longer feel like there's too many characters. Like I feel like I, have a good handle on all these characters. I think they're all, well developed now. So I don't have a problem with that anymore. And then we get to a point in the back part where Vicky, who is Bob's wife, who got lost somewhere in the shuffle on one of the earlier floors, she's back. She's in the heaven floor for some reason. And so she starts trying to convert Bob to the way of Usul, who is he's not the main god, but he's the main god of the series. And so like Bob does end up converting to like be with Vicky. And that's kind of where that plot line cuts off for this issue, but it does get very like weird and creepy. That's kind of where the corruption and the rot of this floor kind of comes into play. Then though, like Felix shows up, and that's confusing. I don't know how in the hell he's still alive, because he got stabbed literally through the chest. Like, I mean, like straight through. I'm pretty sure we saw the stake come out the other side. And now he's just kind of like fine. Like he's limping and he's got like a big hole in his chest, but he's just like seems to be okay. I do wonder if maybe it's a situation of like Usul is as like possessing his body or something, or like his powers kind of kept him alive since Felix has kind of seemingly been working for him. But then the issue ends with Felix and Isaac reaching the ground floor. Whereas everybody else is still on floor 2. Isaac's mom and Gary are trying to find Isaac. Bob and Vicky are missing, and then Justin and that other person whose name I can never remember, they're just kind of hanging out somewhere. I think they did something else, but I don't remember. Anyway, very excited for the next issue. However, next issue is the finale of the series, and while I said that I think the characters are all feeling like they have a lot more personality and development and depth, like that's all great, but there's still a lot of them. And as a result, they're all kind of split up right now as well. They're in like 4 or 5 different groups. And so as a result of that, there's a lot of loose threads that are left for one issue to conclude, to the point where I'm not entirely sure they can just wrap that up in a satisfying manner. I trust this creative team a lot. Like the art is great. The story has been, I think, very good for the most part up to this point. Really great panel layouts on this issue, and this issue as well. It's very interesting stuff. But I just feel like there's still kind of too many characters right now to give all of them satisfying endings. They might be able to skirt around that a little bit because with Vicky and Bob, like they're kind of seemingly under the thrall of Azul now. So that may kind of make it so that there's a little bit less that they have to do in terms of wrapping up the plot for character-wise. But they're like that story still needs to be wrapped up some way or another. Unless they kind of like leave that open-ended for another series, because I know they are doing more boners with Mythos series later. But so that we have those two, we have Gary, Justin and his friend, Felix, Isaac, and Isaac's mom. Like all of those characters have some sort of plot that kind of needs to get wrapped up. So again, while I have faith in this creative team, that is a lot to juggle in the one issue. Regardless, though, I like it. I think it's good. And I gave it an 8. I really like this issue, and I'm very excited for the next issue. But yeah, a little bit concerned about what they're gonna kind of do to wrap it up next issue.
All right. Let's switch gears, and we're gonna go to DC now with Green Lantern War Journal.
Okay. I have basically fuck all to say on this issue.
I do as well.
Yeah. It's written by Philip Kennedy Johnson. The artist is Montos. This kind of, I guess, wraps up the first arc, although kind of not really because the Revenant Queen is still in play.
I have problems with that.
Okay, yeah. What's your problems?
Right. So, I finished reading this one. Right. I don't usually read the synopsis of things, and I came in here to leave the review, and first thing I see, big bold letters. First story arc concludes. I'm like, what you mean?
Yeah.
He didn't fight the Revenant Queen, kind of like
at
all, really.
I was gonna bring that up in the cover as well, because the cover there's a big old John Stewart versus the Revenant Queen front and center. And, they didn't really fight,
that's kind of like the main thing of the first arc was, the Revenant Queen, and she's kind of still alive. So I don't know what you mean by the first. Like, is it really concluded? I don't.
Yeah, for me, this feels like the first chapter of the main story arc kind of wraps
like
up.
That. That would make more sense.
Yeah, this is essentially just like a big brawl between John. Well, not just John. There's a couple other lanterns in there as well, but John versus the forces of the Revenant Queen. There's a little bit of other stuff with John's mom telling some story to his fake construct sister, but that's not much of anything.
No.
So yeah, it's just kind of a big fight, and some lanterns get killed or injured. John gets a new power where he can like level up and use his light to banish the darkness of the Revenant Queen and her forces or something. So he does that on that other main-ish lantern, Calvin Shepherd. And then how does that end again? Does John get fucking teleported somewhere or because I know there's the star coming down to Earth, but I don't remember what else.
There's the star, and I think he touched it. And yes, I believe it teleported him somewhere.
Yeah.
So I don't. Oh man, this one was just not. It didn't do a good job of this one of really kind of explaining what is, because the plan is obviously to defeat the Necro Queen, right? So the Revenant Queen, that's the plan, and then there's too many peeps. The newer lanterns don't really know how to defend themselves. So it's kind of just John Stewart and Shepherd. Shepherd goes down. He revives Shepherd. Star comes down, and then that was the end of the fight.
Yeah. I will say, here's the thing. Plot-wise, is a little bit this feels like kind of a bit of a bait and switch. Not even in terms of the actual plot, but just because of how it was marketed. But because it is just a straight up fight issue, for me, whether this issue is good or not depends on how good the fight is. And I think the fight's pretty good. I think there's some really cool panel layouts. I think the art is generally very good. So because the fight is on the whole quite solid, I didn't really have a problem with this. I think it was pretty solid as a whole. But yeah, and I think the cliffhanger's kind of interesting with the Dark Star coming to Earth. That's kind of cool and cool setup. At the same time, the thought has kind of crossed my mind to drop this. I'm not going to, at least not immediately, but it has crossed my mind now where I'm just I'm more or less enjoying it issue to issue.
Yeah.
But I do still feel I don't know. It's one of those things where it's if I drop it, I don't know if I'm really going to be missing much. So, and it's tricky because I don't want to drop it because I loved those early issues, and I do still like it generally. But this is one where if in future I'm kind of really looking to substantially cut more stuff, this is one of the ones that I think would probably go fairly early. Again,
Yeah.
not the quality. I think it's a pretty solid story, but it's just not. I just don't. I don't know. I'm like. I like it issue to issue generally, but I'm not. I rarely find myself excited for the next one. I think is kind of where I'm at with it. It's always like oh, that was a fun enough read, but I'm not like, oh, I can't wait to see what happens next. So I'm at a 7 with this one. I honestly I could go anywhere between 6, 7, and 8. I just kind of have it at a 7 right now. I don't think it's bad at all, but yeah, that's my thoughts on it.
Oh yeah. I have it at a 6. It's for me mostly just it's mostly just the story in this one. Like it was very action heavy, that's fair, but like I mean, it just did just complete like not even like a 180 because it didn't flip around on itself. It just did a 90-degree turn. Like it just turned on itself. Like I was just like, okay, now we're, she's still active, but we're just gonna go focus on this other thing real quick. And it's just like I don't really.
I mean, it is related though, at least. Like,
It's
it is
related.
still part of the same threat. Yeah,
it's related, but like I feel it's just like they introduced it just so quickly. All of a sudden, I feel like I don't know.
Yeah.
It's I don't. Yeah, I don't know. It's 6.
Okay. Well, let's shift gears back to DC. And let's talk about Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong. Another one I don't have a lot to say on. This is issue number 5. Written by Brian Buccellato and the artist is Christian Deuce. It's better than the last issue, I will say that. I did like it more. Like they do kind of continue the Atlantis fight, but I think it works more effectively here than it did in the last issue. We also now finally a lot of the Justice League characters, they now know more at least about the Titans. Yes. So they know that Godzilla is Godzilla's name. They know that Kong is Kong's name. So that's kind of going on there. There's also Lex has built Mechagodzilla now officially. So that's kind of happening. There's also everybody's still trying to figure out what's going on with Superman and if he still is able to be revived. Oliver has a brief scene where he fights the League of Assassins on Skull Island. That doesn't really seem to have much bearing on the plot in this issue. I don't really know why it was there. It really didn't do anything.
Well, he caught him off the boat.
I guess, but you did not need a full 4 pages of him fighting the League of Assassins for that. Then I will say the probably most fun moment was Grodd shows back up again on Skull Island, and he's like, "Yes, great Gorilla Lord, we worship you," and again, which I just think that's really fun. I love that kind of fun character interaction stuff there. Except he also this confused me because in that sequence he's worshiping Kong, but then he mind controls Supergirl and makes her punch Kong in the head and knock him out.
Yeah, I don't really understand what Grodd's whole deal. Maybe he wants to try and control the god. Yeah.
Maybe.
That'd
maybe
be my best guess.
I just maybe that or bring him to the mainland or something. Regardless, that was really weird. I will say, so again, that's kind of the plot breakdown of most of this. I don't think much else happens here. I will say, I think my biggest complaint with the series as a whole now is just that Kong is just not in it very much.
Not at the moment.
This is really just a Godzilla story for the most, Godzilla and Justice League for the most part. Which is I think that stuff is fairly fun, but I would just love to see Kong in this more since he is in the title. He's barely gotten any play.
Yeah, fair enough.
And I know he's front and center on the cover of issue number 6, but he was on issue 3 as well. He didn't show up much there either. So I don't know. I'm sure he'll kind of play a bit of a bigger role once they, once he teams up with the League, because obviously they're building to Godzilla and Kong are both going to team up with the League and they're going to fight Mechagodzilla. But I just feel like he's not being used super effectively right now.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, I think, okay, so my slight ick right now with this one is that I feel like it's moving really fast. Compared to, I don't know if it was just, I felt like this one specifically just moved very fast compared to the other past 4, really. And I don't know if it was just like the past four was just like establishing like where everybody was, and then this one just like, okay, we know where everybody is. Let's move the story along, because it was a lot of like we got like the info dumped to like basically the league essentially, like everything from the Monsterverse, and then we got a lot of Lex Luthor's like plan, and then just like that Legion of Doom type beat thing. I don't know, it was like something there, I think.
Yeah. I'm gonna be honest, I fell asleep when I was reading that part, so my memory is not the not the best on that part.
Yeah, that's I mean, that wasn't really anything big. It was just
Yeah.
they were trying to find.
Because the monsters were like going back to Metropolis or something, I think is what it was. And they're trying to find Toyman.
Yeah, I think okay, so it was Legion of Doom, I believe. Yeah, they were about to catch Toyman and they lost him, if I remember correctly. And then Shazam showed up and he just got beat up.
As he tried to take on like 13 supervillains by himself.
Yeah. And he was kind of holding his own until Gigantor just came in and just walloped him in the face.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. I mean, there was that whole Atlantis bit where
the Lantern showed up.
And Flash got rid of the beacon that was dragging essentially the two other Titans down there.
Yeah.
Towards Atlantis. And then at the very end, which was an interesting tidbit, the League of Assassins are trying to revive a Titan in a giant Lazarus pit.
Yep.
And I believe, if I remember correctly, the skull that they had in the boat was a Skullcrawler skull.
Yeah.
So I guess they're trying to revive a Skullcrawler.
Yeah, probably.
So yeah, that was something, I guess.
Which, by the way, that's a lot to deal with in 2 issues. I'd already be a little bit concerned if it was just like, because next issue presumably they have to have the team up between Justice League and Godzilla and Kong for them to all fight Mechagodzilla in the last issue.
Yes,
that's already kind of a lot of ground to cover in 2 issues because you have
it's
to
a lot.
Like get that. So for them to then be like, yeah, and also Ra's al Ghul is going to try and fucking resurrect the Skullcrawler. It's like that's kind of. Do you need that element in there? I don't know if you do right now.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the whole bit. Because firstly, Godzilla has to get freed from Atlantis. Kong has to somehow make it to like I'm assuming wherever Mechagodzilla is gonna be.
Yeah.
They have to. They have to like physically get Mechagodzilla somewhere. They have to deal with the League of Assassins. Like this is a lot of stuff in 2 issues. It's moving it's gonna start moving very fast, and I'm a bit concerned about that.
Yeah.
But regardless of all that, I didn't mind this issue. I thought it was okay. I thought it was alright. I'm glad they find like I'm not glad. It's nice that they finally have information about like the Monsterverse Titans and stuff like that. And so yeah, I guess I gave it a 7.
I also gave it a 7.
Let's do Gods. Let's just do Gods.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
This is Gods number 5, written by Jonathan Hickman. The artist is Valerio Schitti. This was recently confirmed to be ending with issue number 8. For now, I think they're going to do a volume 2. It seems like later. But yeah. Anyway, I think this issue is good. I'm still confused. I'm so confused. I'm really confused as to what the plot of this series is.
Yeah.
Like I would say it's that it feels like it's lost the plot. I don't think it has. This issue did feel like a side quest to me. I mean, I think that's pretty evident.
Yeah.
It was kind of like a side kind of adventure. That didn't feel intentional though. And with Jonathan Hickman, I think there's a very good chance that there is a very involved, complex plot that I am just either too stupid to see, too stupid to understand, or too stupid to remember. This issue, I think because of the side quest nature of it, it did feel easier to follow.
Yes.
And there are some they're like really cool concepts here. I really like the general concept because it's essentially that witches are kidnapping a whole bunch of men under the guise of some like weird clinic where I don't even know why they bring them there. I should say, I don't know what the pretense is that they get them to come there for. Because what they do is they just sacrifice them to like a weird demon thing so that they can receive letters. I don't mean like letters as in like full written letter. I mean like literally individual letters, like of the alphabet. They get 1 for every man that they sacrifice. And those letters then make up a message that will give them their new purpose in life that they've been lacking since some like big catastrophic event happened to them. So that's kind of the main premise of the threat in this issue. It spends a little bit of time setting that up. And then we later learn that Dimitri, who is Wynn's like sidekick, bumbled in and he somehow got himself sacrificed. He was trying to put in like a audio device or something in there, or a recording device. I don't really know.
They were trading something, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, so they were trading something, and then I think, but then he's just like, well, I was there, so I was just gonna plant this there while I was also there as well. So then, like, yeah, Wynn and Mia go on this like mission to go get him back. It's not like that makes it sound like kind of like a heist or like an action movie. It's not. Mia just kind of walks in, and then she just trades with the witches, and then they all leave after Wynn gets mad at the witches.
Yeah,
and then it ends with the reveal that the natural order of things, in kind of recruiting Mia as their minion, they have kind of clipped Mia's wings in terms of her magical skills, so she will never get more skilled in magic than she currently is right now, which is a bummer for her because she really wants to like essentially get to the level where she can be the avatar of the powers that be like Wynn is. So that's the issue essentially. I did really like it. Again, I found it easier to follow than the last issue, certainly. Last issue I was like, I don't know what the fuck is going on anymore. I was just so confused. I still feel that a little bit, again, more in terms of the actual plot. I don't really know what it's building towards. I'm sure it's building to something. I do like trust Jonathan Hickman to the point where I'm sure he has a very involved and complex kind of big plan for this series that will all make sense, and things will tie, well, maybe it won't all make sense, but things will all kind of tie together and weave and, you know, make this big epic tapestry of a saga and a story. Right now, though, I don't know what that is. But regardless, I did think the concepts were really cool. And I also really, really, really liked the dynamic between Wynn and Mia. I think they're really fun together. They got this like fun, sassy, like bantering interplay. It's just really fun to read. So, yeah, again, not sure where we're going with the series as a whole. I don't know how I'll look back on the series as it does feel very confusing to me. But as an individual issue, I think it's very good. Or quite good, at least.
Yeah, I agree with you. I kind of like this one. Like, it was kind of a breath of fresh air from just the wholly confusingness that has been this series as a whole. I'm definitely lost. I mean, like I thought I kind of understood that last issue, and then we got thrown the side story. So like, I don't know if I was supposed to be understanding at this point, but it's like threw a wrench in that. Like I understood this one as a whole. Like it was like you said, fairly simple to follow. You know, and then yeah, I don't know. I like the whole. I think I like this one so much as, like you said, just the dynamic between Mia and Wynn. I just really enjoyed their just like back and forth banter and all that stuff. It felt natural, like very natural compared to how Mia and Clea? No, that's
Ico.
Doctor Strange. Ico.
Yeah.
How her dynamic is with Mia. Like I don't know. It just feels. It feels more friendly and just more natural. Like I know he said so at the very end. I don't remember him if he like truly explains why she won't be able to get better at magic or whatever.
It is because she got recruited by the natural order of things. I think this is kind of the general idea. I think in that recruitment, they kind of were intentionally doing it so that they're like, we know that if we recruit her, she won't be able to get better, so we're just gonna recruit her.
Okay. Yeah, but like specifically, why though? Like, why recruiting her into the natural order of things limits magic?
I think it's because of the inherent rivalry between the natural order of things and the powers of that be. Because the powers of that be are the magic-based side and the natural the science thing. So I think it's because like they see that as like, well, once you join one of them, you're not allowed to get better at other. Yeah. That was my interpretation, at least. Yeah.
No. Okay. No. Yeah. That makes sense. But then, I'm assuming that would mean like you can't just like defect to the other side or something like that. Right?
Yeah. Probably. Yeah.
I'd assume in that case,
Although I'm sure Mia will figure out a way to do. Like clearly, it's starting to seem like she's actually the main character of this series, and it's not Wynn, like I kind of initially assumed. So I'm sure she'll kind of come back around and be able to increase power. But
I quite enjoy Mia's character.
Yeah.
And it would feel like the first part is just setting up and letting us understand how this side of the universe works.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't mind that at all. As long as Wynn and her still are in it though.
Yeah. I mean, there's only 3 more issues, so I'm assuming.
Yeah. But like you said, if they do like a volume 2 or something like
Yeah,
that, you
yeah.
know. But yeah, I generally did enjoy this one. Easier to follow. I'm not gonna say it was easy to follow. It was easier to follow. So yeah, I gave it a 7.
I gave it an 8. Let's start at Cobra Commander number 2.
Cobra Commander.
This is written by Joshua Williamson and the artist is Andrea Milana. So here's the thing with this. I still like it, but I feel much the same way about this issue as I did about Duke number 2, in the sense that really loved the first issues of both. I think the second issues of both were a significant step down. Again, I want to be clear that I still like this issue quite a lot, but I just don't think it's good because like it goes from like last issue, right? We had this massive conflict where Cobra Law was besieged in this like big civil war type of conflict, and you know, Cobra Commander had kidnapped Megatron, and it's like this, you know, this big kind of like, oh shit, there's a lot of stuff going on. This is like, it felt very big for the Energon universe. And then this issue is Cobra Commander is fighting redneck serial killers who live in the swamp, and he's trying to ditch his royally assigned babysitter. Personally, maybe I'm crazy, I just don't think that's as interesting as the big Cobra Law civil war and Megatron being kidnapped. That's like really all this is. Like, he just kind of shows up in a swamp. There's some, you know, serial killers like serial killing. I guess they're the Dreadnoughts, I think is their name. I think they're like pretty, you know, entrenched G.I. Joe. You know, that's a pretty entrenched G.I. Joe concept, but I don't know who they are. So I mean, there was a cool image with like the big fucking truck that they were driving, but like, that's kind of the issue. He just goes and he stumbles into their hut, and then they show up, and he's like, I'm gonna fucking fight you guys now. He doesn't win like right away. Like, he doesn't get kidnapped or anything, but he has to kind of retreat. And then I think the cliffhanger's kind of strange too, because he's just kind of, he's standing on solid ground. I mean, he's in a lake, but he's like on solid ground. And then the next panel, he has somehow fallen like into a very deep pit in the lake with like no in between without seeming to move at all. And then he's just surrounded by alligators. So I was like, how does that work? But yeah, I it's fine, but I do think it's kind of like, why is this like, this doesn't feel like it's an as interesting angle to follow as the first issue. So I didn't like it as much as the first one.
Yeah, no, definitely not as interesting as the first one by any means. Like, not really at all. Like you said, it's just kind of like a boring read. Like, it was interesting in the sense that like they're in the ever like, I don't even know where they're at.
Probably it probably is the Everglades, but
yeah, I don't know what state they're in, but yeah, they're in a bog, we'll just say. And yeah, it's literally just Cobra Commander and
I don't know. Is it Buzzer?
But no, Buzzer I thought is.
Oh, but is he one of the Dreadnoughts?
I thought so.
Okay.
Well, the person who was with Cobra Commander, you know, it was just them talking, and it's, you know, not even that interesting. It's just kind of Cobra Commander being like,
stop following me.
Like, stop following me, or just like let me lead. The supposed fight, you know, between Cobra Commander and what were you calling them? The Dreadnoughts. You know, that's another thing that kind of, you know, wasn't even interesting. The bit with the alligators, from what I took of it, was that the alligators specifically dragged him in to like the deep part. That's what I kind of got.
They were nowhere near him in that panel. I mean, they were close to him, but they weren't like on him.
No, I know. Like, but like, right, because like right beforehand, you saw like the hiss and like the noises of the gator. So that's kind of how because I was also confused at first, and I had to like reread that bit because I was like, how the fuck? And then I noticed that bit, so I was like, okay, maybe they just dragged them in there.
Also, by the way, the tease for next issue, like the tune in next time, it just said at the end, the last page, it was like, next Cobra Commander versus Gators. I'm like, is that supposed to get me
alligators? Yeah,
I was like, is that supposed to get me excited for the next issue? Like, I don't really care if Cobra Commander fights alligators.
Yeah. Yeah. This one specifically, more than between Duke and number 1 and number 2, between Cobra Commander number 1 and number 2, this one was a significant step down for me. Just number 1 was just so much more interesting.
Yeah.
In general, and God, what did you rate this?
I gave it a 7.
God, I talked.
You have it an 8, which is really weird.
Yeah, I talked so much smack just now, and I'm like,
Because I remember very vividly you gave the first issue an 8 as well. Now you're saying this is a significant step down. So
Yeah, that's what I'm like. I'm trying to remember why I gave this and like how, in which part I enjoyed this one enough to give it an 8. Because not even like a 7 feels good, but I don't.
I've thought about dropping it to a 6. I think I'm gonna keep it at a 7 because ultimately I think it's a very easy read and it didn't like make me angry. I was just kind of like it's whatever. But I could see myself giving this a 6.
Yeah, it's like dropping it down 2 just feels like too much. We're gonna go. We'll stick with the middle. I gave it an 8. I'm feeling a 6 now, so we'll go with 7.
Okay.
I was feeling it. When I first reviewed it, I felt 8. Now I'm feeling a 6, 7.
Okay.
0.1.
I'm gonna drop it to a 6.
Okay, let's see here. Let's stick with the Image comics here.
Okay.
The One Hand.
That's not the name of the issue. I can't tell if you were doing that as a bit or if you actually thought that was the name of the issue. So
no, it was a not much of anything bit.
Okay. Yeah, this is the Six Fingers written by Dan Waters and the artist is Sumit Kumar. As Sebastian kind of alluded to, though, this is the companion series to The One Hand, where that series is showing the murder mystery from the side of a detective. This is showing it from the perspective of the serial killer. Really great idea. Again, I said that when we talked about The One Hand. I love that idea. I do think, like, you take out some of the suspense of The One Hand. When this issue, we just immediately find out who the killer is, because it's the main character. Yes. But I still think, like, it's a cool idea, and there's other ways to build suspense in this 2 series, obviously. But yeah, essentially, it's following. It's not quite as like interweaving with the first issue of The One Hand as I thought it might be. Not that's a bad thing. We do see him. He like bumps into Ari Nassar. I don't remember if that happened in the first issue of The One Hand. It probably did. I just don't remember it.
It did. It didn't show you
his face.
It didn't show you his face. It just showed like that he bumped into somebody.
Okay. Yeah. We see like he's trying to like pitch a thesis project for his archaeology major. He's in grad school and he doesn't get it because he doesn't have his papers, like his planning and his research and budget and everything. And then we also, I think that kind of the big part of this issue is that we see how he got the sixth finger, which is he's just been like wading into toxic sludge as part of his job. So there's that. And then it's interesting here. He almost doesn't seem to know that he's killing people. It almost kind of seems like he like blacks out and then just does it. And then he kind of realizes afterwards.
Yeah. So, but like, it's like not even like immediately after this one took, I think it was at least a day, I believe.
Yeah.
Or at least, I'll just call it a day. Yeah, because towards the end of this, right? So after getting essentially like rejected, well, not even like rejected, he like what? Like
he does get another offer, just not the one he wanted.
Yeah. He just rejects school, I guess I'll just say. Gets fired from his job, I'm pretty sure.
Or at least put on leave until his like he's taking the anti-mutagens, yeah.
Yeah. He said he specifically said he was fired in here. So, and then half broken up with his girlfriend. So he was like, I know what you're trying to do. And she's like, what? And he's like, you're breaking up with me, aren't you? Through this like conversation, he realizes why he didn't have his papers, and he like retraced his steps back, right? So he was like in an alley pacing, just thinking, and he came across, what was it, a door?
Something.
He basically just like broke into like an apartment and killed the dude, but like without even realizing he was doing it until he retraced his steps.
Yeah, so I'm reading the synopsis right now. It says, when he commits a brutal murder using the MO of a historic and notorious serial killer, everything begins to spiral out of control, primarily as he doesn't remember doing it. He will stop at nothing to unravel the secrets and ciphers of what he did and why he did this. Yeah, he like really does not know that he did this.
Yeah. So, I mean, I thought this was really interesting. I thought this was really well written, really just really well told in general as well.
Dialogue pacing is really good, yeah.
Yeah, so like at first, when I first was reading it, I thought it was gonna be like he kind of went like crazy. So I thought like in this one we were literally gonna see him murdering people. I mean, we kind of did. But I also had another theory that maybe it was like, okay, he was able to do this archaeological dig or whatever, and somehow, some way, some weird mystical thing like got him or something like that. That one was shut down very quickly. So then I thought, okay,
Yeah.
let's go to this other theory.
Yeah.
And then it was neither of those, and it's just the fact that he's somehow possessed or something like that. Like,
yeah.
because for him to be able to like do everything the exact same,
Yeah.
it can't be a coincidence in any
Yeah.
shape or form, you know. So
I think that's become the most interesting part of this whole mystery thing.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I think like I think this is better than the one hand, number one. I don't know if I think it's much better, but I do think I'm just immediately more interested in it because the premise of this, like, of him just not know, like, it gives us more information. Because I think I did question, like, or it was at least point of a question in the one hand issue number one where they were like how is this cipher here? Like, we didn't tell anybody about this, so like how is this a thing that's here?
Yeah.
And so I think this series pivoting to that and focusing on that part of it really interesting. I also just think the dialogue is flowing better in this series for me personally. So I did end up liking this more. I think I'm gonna give it an 8. I had it at a 7, but talking about it more, I'm like, this is a cool mystery. So I think I'm gonna give it an 8. I think it's a really strong continuation of that story, and then a flipping of it in a way that makes both series more interesting because of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I absolutely loved this issue. This one with Spider-Man was like, this one was a contender for pick of the week, but ultimately I gave it to Spider-Man simply because I gave Spider-Man a 9 and I only gave this one an 8. But this one was definitely easy, like a close second.
Yeah.
For me, this one I absolutely loved. This one, I thought it was great.
Well, let's talk about Sentry. I have a question for you, Sebastian.
Yes.
What's going through your head here? Because I know what you rated this, and I don't get it.
It's not that much higher than what you rated it.
I just changed mine.
Oh my gosh. Oh,
I had meant to change it a couple days ago. I just forgot to do it. Yeah.
Lower? Okay. Best one of the series so far. Hands down. This one was I
agree.
I genuinely enjoyed this one. I actually was like, all right. So the first two, the first one, I don't even know which one I'd say was they've been the worst.
First one fucking sucked. I hated the first one.
I think if I had to choose one, I think it'd probably be the first one. And then the second one, and then like I think it's just been getting better. I don't know. No, getting better is like a stretch for me. Number 2 probably wasn't even that good as like that much better than number 1. But I generally actually really enjoyed number 3. This one was great.
Great?
Yeah, it was good. It was good. I liked it. It got me excited for number 4.
Okay, why though? Why? I need to hear your reasoning.
Okay, so I think just the story behind this is just the okay. So we know the Sentry has always been like
troubled.
I don't know much. Yes. Like I don't know much lore behind Sentry.
Yeah. He has a very rocky history. Yeah.
Yes. People don't like. He's like one of the strongest people in Marvel. He doesn't have very good control of his powers. But it's like obviously better than what Ryan. I'm gonna call him the evil Sentry.
Yeah.
Clearly, like this one starts off with him where it left off last issue with him basically meeting the Avengers.
Yeah.
And him being like, yeah, I'm the new Sentry. Yeah, I'm just up here to help you guys. And clearly that was a lie from the very beginning because Wanda literally just tries to raise his mind and he just goes off on her.
Yeah.
And, and then so, Captain Marvel tries to chase him down and whatever. But
that's with the Avengers. Good scene. I did like that scene. And I was like, reading that, I was like, okay, maybe this will be better. But I don't think it is.
Okay. Well, so then, right. So then we cut to a bit of Mallory, right? And her whole dilemma with the Sentry powers and how, she still wants to help people, but she's clearly struggling. Like seeing her
like help people, but then instantly go in and just like fuck up like
Break down the
another
wall of their
thing.
house.
Yeah, and then like their house starts getting flooded and stuff like that. You know, we don't see her save them, but you know, she does, so she said she did, to Jessica, who's like just that heart to heart talk with Jessica and Mallory just as well, you know, it just felt real. Like that's
See, I felt that was pretty generic. I was
not
watching that. I was like,
okay.
I feel like this is all stuff that every other superhero conversation has done.
Okay, but yeah, but most of the time with the superhero, right? It's always like they're starting out, like obviously they're just starting out, they don't know what to do. But like for her, it's even more because like she can literally hurt people just because of like her cerebral palsy. Like even when she doesn't mean to. Like
Yeah,
that's a, like,
yeah,
that's, like
sure.
that's a lot of other superheroes. Like what should I do in this situation? Like who does it turn out best for? But for her, she can literally save everybody, but is scared to at this point.
Sure.
She
I just think like the way that Jessica was talking to her, I was like, this is every superhero pep talk I've ever heard in
Yes,
my life. Yeah.
yes, but she you kind of have to think about it going out from a different angle a bit too.
Right.
You know, but like okay, so why did you hate this one so much?
I didn't hate it. I don't think it's good, but I don't think this is not like, I still think it's better than the first issue. Like I just think after that first issue, after the first sequence with the Avengers, I was just like I was just not interested in it. And here's the thing, I do think like there are some things that this does better than the previous issues. I think particularly we don't have Ryan killing multiple sentries in this
Yeah.
issue, where to the point where it feels very repetitive, because he did it like twice in each of the previous two issues.
Mm-hmm.
The problem I still have here, though, I mentioned this last time we talked about this. Why has Ryan killed all of them? I know like in continuity why, but like from a narrative perspective, I just think it would be more interesting to have another Sentry in there to help Mallory with the ultimate, final fight. I just think on their own, I don't think these characters are all that interesting. I know I said that I thought Mallory was a decent character last issue. I think she's gotten a little bit less interesting in this issue. I don't know if that's actually the case, or if I was just not like vibing when I read this issue. But so I didn't feel like her character was quite as engaging to me this issue. And so when I saw there was another Sentry power, I was like, oh sweet, like yes, they didn't kill all of them. Like maybe they're actually gonna have a team up, and that'd be cool and fun. But then that other Sentry gets killed by Ryan again. I was like, fuck, like stop just killing all these other Sentries. And I do think also from a narrative perspective, I'm a little bit confused how they're gonna have it so that Mallory wins against Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
Just from the perspective of, he is supposedly absorbing all the powers of the Sentries he killed, right? I think that's kind of the idea.
I believe so, because like I don't think they're truly dead, because when he went to go kill the other Sentry, they clearly showed up some way or other. They were like there in a sense.
I don't know. I think like if he's absorbing the powers of the Sentry, that means he now has 5/6 of the Sentry's power,
Yes.
whereas Mallory has 1/6. That is a big disparity, obviously.
That is a very big disparity.
And Ryan has also been actively using his powers while Mallory has not. So I just don't know. In one issue, I don't see how we can feasibly like make it believable that Mallory wins on her own, right? If she had that other Sentry with her, I could kind of more hand wave that away. But yeah, with just one person against, this other Sentry who has more practice and more of the powers, I think that's a little bit. I'm not quite sure how they're going to be able to, make that work.
I'm assuming it's going to be something to do with the other people he absorbed. They're going to somehow, some way,
like rip them apart or something.
No, not rip them apart. Jesus.
I mean, like somehow, spiritually, like they're gonna be like, oh, they're gonna like the ghosts are gonna pop out of his body and be like, we're taking the powers back or something.
Yeah, it's gonna be something. I assume. I don't know, but like obviously, like I assume it's gonna be something psychological, maybe something like that.
If that happens, I will come back and increase this rating a star. But I'm not convinced on that 100%. I will say, I don't mind the explanation for why the Sentry's powers have been split. I think that was kind of interesting, because it's essentially because back in, I think it was 2022 to 20, it might have just been in 2022, there's a series called Strange, which is really good. It was where Doctor Strange had died, and Clea was the Sorcerer Supreme. Then it turns out that Doctor Strange is actually working as like the Harvest Man of Death. And so they had to take down these like, dead like zombified versions that had of heroes that had like all the heroes' powers, and they had like were filled with a bunch of different souls and stuff through the old like mystical shield essentially, which had gone rogue. It was called Wand. And so apparently it's like one of those souls from that Sentry that was like inside that Sentry's body escaped and ended up splitting into these 6 people that were all in the train station at the same time. Yeah, that's fine. Again though, just like I would have loved if they hadn't killed off every Sentry. It's like, what's the point of introducing them all if you're gonna kill all of them? I don't get it. It just is weird to me. So yeah, that's kind of why it's not the worst thing I've read. It's fine. It's the worst thing I read this week, but I think like overall it's fine. But I was not feeling this one. Sorry, Jason Liu and David Cutler, who is the creative team on this, and Luigi Zagaria. But yeah, I was not feeling this one.
Well, I liked it. I gave it a 7.
I initially had it at a 6. That might have been because I read this at work. And usually when I read things at work, because I'm at work, I just generally like issues more because I'm like less focused on them, I think. And so like I overlooked some of the things that I don't like as much. But yeah, I'm gonna have it at a 5 right now.
Let's go with the Hulk.
Okay. This is the Incredible Hulk number 9, written by Phil Kennedy Johnson. The artist is not Nick Klein, unfortunately. The artist is Danny Earls. Right off the bat, I don't think the art is as good. No slight to Danny Earls here. I just think it's like very hard to one up Nick Klein. And when he's not on the book, I just don't like this book as much. It's as simple as that. I will say, I talked last time we reviewed an issue of the series last month. I talked a lot about how I like the series issue to issue, but I feel like it's not doing a good enough job of like keeping me invested in the overall story. Again, it's one of those things where I like reading the series a lot, but I haven't really been looking forward to future issues a lot of the time because I'm just like, I'm not getting much of an indication on where this is going. And like, while the issue to issue stuff is cool, it's not really compelling me in the way that I'm really excited to read the next issue, I don't think this issue is as good as any of the issues in the last arc. That being said, I do want to give this issue props for kind of reversing that issue I had, because this does seem to genuinely be building some stuff up now in a way that is interesting, in a way that sets up some stuff for the future. It gives me a bit more of an idea of like, okay, there's stuff kind of starting to maybe kick into gear in terms of the plot of the series. I'm not going to go as far as to say that the series has definitely found the plot yet, but I think it's on the right track in that angle. And I think if the art had been Nick Klein here, I would have probably rated this an extra star, maybe even 2 extra stars, because this issue, we do have another kind of one-off kind of monster thing, right? In the form of, I don't know if Frozen Charlotte is the name of this monster, or if that's supposed to allude to like Charlie becoming a monster in a future issue. But regardless, also, I don't think that would make sense. I think they even mentioned in this issue, Charlie's name is not Charlotte, it's Charlene. So I don't think that actually makes sense if that would be her. Betty Ross finally comes back after showing up a couple issues ago and being like, hey, Elsa's looking for the Hulk. If you give Eldest the Hulk, we can just, have our old lives back. Her showing up again, and there's a pretty chilling sequence where she's talking and she's like, and Bruce is turning into the Hulk, and she's like, I wonder if this will be your last transformation. Like, if you choose wrong here, this will be the last choice you made because it'll be Hulk and you'll be gone, essentially is the implication.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was really cool and creepy. Like, I liked the weird, the vibe that was there. So that's one half of the issue. The other half of the issue is Charlie's in New Orleans because Bruce told her kind of like run off and just go and chill in New Orleans for a little bit. And then so she ends up hiding in a shop because people still think that she killed her dad. So they're kind of looking for her. So she's hiding in the shop, and it turns out the owner of the shop is this like monster lady who also kills somebody early on, very gruesomely, like to the point where I didn't even really like realize what was happening. But she like cuts this person up and like into like pieces with like a whip or something, like really quickly, and you see like her face like slide off and like half her face like fall onto the. It's like whoa, holy shit. Yeah. Same time though, I can't help thinking like, what would that have looked like if Nick Klein had been drawing it? Sorry, I don't mean to ride on Danny Earls' art. Like, it's fine art. I just can't help but compare it to the other stuff that we've seen previously. But then the other part that's pretty creepy and weird in this is apparently the people that it seems like because she kills some people, and then it seems like the people that she likes, she like traps in these dolls and then like keeps them in her basement so that they can't be hurt anymore or something. But they're like freaking the fuck out because they're been trapped and transformed into dolls.
Honestly,
it's a really cool idea there. I like that a lot. That's kind of where the issue ends, is Charlie finds that out, and then the monster's like, "Oh, everything will be fine." So like cool ideas, genuinely. I think again, going in an angle that I think is finally building some momentum, like actual momentum. But I think the art kind of did bring this down for me a little bit.
Yeah, I struggled with this one a bit. I struggled with what to give this one. So, we know my rule here. Clearly here it says
That's
Hulk.
why. Okay.
It clearly says
I wondered
Hulk
why you gave
versus...
this what you gave this.
Yeah, it clearly says Hulk versus the Angel of Death. They didn't even meet in this issue.
The thing is, you could almost twist that if they didn't say Frozen Charlotte right after, because you could play that as Betty being the Angel of Death. But they say Frozen Charlotte right after, so that does kind of make it seem.
Yeah. And so, okay, so obviously, my rule was that if they did that, it's an automatic 0 from me.
Which, by the way, was instigated by another issue of this series. Like this series seems to have a problem with that.
Yes, but I struggle. Okay, so the reason I struggled, right, was simply because in my eyes, this is kind of like starting a new arc a bit. Right, because this Frozen Charlotte is going to take place over 3 issues at this point, and I didn't know what to really give. I struggled with that bit. Like, okay, they're introducing this new character, and so that could just be like the arc thing. Like, okay, it's Hulk versus Angel of Death, Frozen Charlotte. Like, that's what we're leading up to at this point, and I really struggled with what to like. Should I give it a 0? Should I just rate it regularly? And in the end, I kind of went even with it. I kind of went like a middle, a bit more leaning to like I'll just rate it normally. It suffered some stars for it. But overall, I thought this one was kind of boring to me. Like one of my favorite parts about this one was just the absolutely gruesome way of Bruce turning into Hulk, but like kind of forcing it back. Like,
yeah,
it was just so prolonged, and I know throughout this entire series, Hulk has been making it like just increasingly painful to turn, like, for Bruce to turn into the Hulk. So for him to just like prolong it over so long, I just like in my mind that's just like obviously just excruciating pain. The whole bit with Charlie, I didn't care as much.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's a big deal that Betty showed up and stuff, but at the same time, I'm also just like, I could care less. So yeah, I gave it a 6, but it's a 6.
Okay, I have it a 7. The thing is, when I was talking about it, I was like, did I actually like this enough to give it an 8? I don't think I quite did, though. Like, I do remember reading this and being like, okay, I like the ideas here, but I'm not sure if I'm really enjoying the issue super, heavily. Okay, let's switch gears here again, and let's go to Superman. Okay, so how far did you get in this?
All right, so I read 5 issues. I read 2 to 6, skipping the annual. I didn't realize I had to read that one in between 5 and 6. So yeah, I read 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
All right. Where are you sitting at with this series right now?
Okay, so I didn't. Okay, 2 and 3, right? Were good. They were good. They were all right. All right. 2 and 3 were good. They were all right. The whole Parasite thing. I don't know. I don't know if I truly like Parasite as like a villain type, especially for Superman at least. I just feel like it's too easy for him. 4 and 5, it less so. I think Silver Banshee, her as a villain, I think at least this powered up version of her seems a lot more formidable for Superman. I liked the idea of like Jimmy Olsen being in like love with her, and that's like the whole reason. Like that's a whole side thing or whatever, I guess. And then the two Doctor Peoples. Those are the main
Farm and
villains.
Graft, yeah.
Yes, they're cool. I liked them.
They're still around, yeah.
Yeah, they're cool. The Chained seems interesting.
Yeah,
I mean,
if you have problems with Parasite and Silver Banshee being too easy for Superman, that will not be an issue for much longer. Like the Chained is a pretty big fucking.
yeah, I was about to say he seems to be very strong. I mean,
Yeah.
he redirected his laser beams. That's like what?
Yeah,
Like I don't know anything about the Chained. I think this is the first time we've ever
I
seen
might
him.
have been. I don't know for sure, but it was the first time I'd seen him.
Yeah, so I've never heard anything about this guy, and so yeah, I mean, I still enjoy the series. I still think it's good. I still love the art on this. I think that's like honestly one of my favorites. Just the way he's written as well, Superman. Yeah. I think he's written just so well throughout this entire series. Especially in number 6, right? Because at the end of number 5, you see Lex Luthor get like stabbed a bunch, but because of his battle with Silver Banshee, he kind of lost his super hearing for a little bit, so he didn't hear, Lex dying essentially. And so at the beginning of this one, you can clearly tell, and like it's very clearly written, like said by the other characters, that Superman is just not happy at all. And I think that's very Superman of him, that the fact that he couldn't save someone that normally he would be able to easily.
Yeah, this is the first appearance of the Chained. So I didn't hate to break it to you, but the artist changes after the point you're at. So
the word. All right, I'm dropping it.
Also, but here's the other thing, Sebastian. Man. The artist changed between issues 5 and 6, and you didn't seem to notice.
I kind of noticed. I noticed the smidgen things like here and there. Like I noticed his face was a little bit different.
That's wild because those two art styles are so different.
Like I literally noticed like a slight I noticed like the it was a bit like less detailed, and so I was like, okay. I thought that was, I don't know what I thought. I literally remember seeing like this face looks off, and just glancing over it. But I was like, remember that specific comment, his face looks off, and I just kept reading.
Granted though, issues number 9 and 10 have Bruno Redondo as the artist, and he's a fucking fantastic artist. So, it's not like they just replace it with some random fucking guy.
No, yeah.
Anyway, I read Superman number 11 this week. It is written by Joshua Williamson, as always, and the artist on this one is David Baldion. So, okay. I don't think... I didn't love this issue. I just don't think it's good, but I think, like, the last 2 issues were so... just like beyond anything I had expected in terms of quality. I was just so into them. I think just every part of it, essentially, those were just like perfect comics to me. And this one's not that. A big part of this issue is spent on what happened at LexCorp, which is now SuperCorp, while Clark was in the Old West. So it's kind of a bit of a flashback in that sense, where it shows a bunch of people. So it's the Chained, it's Farm and Graft, it's Parasite and Silver Banshee might also be there, but it's a couple of characters that pop up, and they are calling themselves the Lex Luthor Revenge Squad. So they want to take down Lex. They kind of take over Supercorp, and then Superman comes back, but they've got kryptonite, like more kryptonite. And since he had already been recently exposed to kryptonite in like issue number 8 or something, he did not have much more tolerance for it. They're essentially like, if you get more of this, you will die. So you have to leave immediately. That's Lena Luthor who's saying that, who's Lex's daughter. And then it turns out also that Letitia Luthor, who is Lex's mom, is in the power suit now, and she's also going against Lex and stuff. And so the Lex Luthor Revenge Squad, they're trying to recruit Clark, and he's always like, no. So then they stab him with red kryptonite, which makes him angry, and then he goes and gets Lex, and he brings him to Supercorp, and he's like, I'm gonna kill everybody. And then Lex ends up getting releasing some kryptonite gas onto Superman, which puts him out of commission. That then it's also like he's about to die, so they have to kind of try and save him. And then it ends with Farm and Graft release a bunch of kryptonite into Metropolis, and that doesn't normally affect humans, but it does if you are like in the kryptonite gas for a long period of time, and these guys had modified it. Actually, it wasn't even them. It was Lex Luthor in the past had modified it so that it works as quickly on humans as it does on Kryptonians. So that's the cliffhanger. It's like, it's in the city now. So yeah, I just wasn't as into it. I think the fact that Superman was kind of not in this one as much did kind of dampen my enthusiasm for the issue a little bit, because he's in over half of it, but for a lot of it, he's either knocked out or like not acting like himself. So doesn't really feel like he's in it that much. It's fine. It's okay. It's good even. I just don't think it's up to the standard of the last couple issues. So I give it a 7, but I'm gonna. This is tricky. Because I could see myself giving this a 6. I do think this is one of the less good issues of the series, but I didn't dislike. I'll give it a 6. I'll give it a 6.
6 it is.
I may change that later, but for now I'll give it a 6. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's keep going with some more Justice League members here. So we're gonna go with Batman number 144.
Wow. Okay. I thought we were gonna save this for last, but all right. Throw a wrench in my plans, Sebastian.
Yes, I did.
Okay, well, this is Batman number 144. It is written by Chip Zdarsky. The artists on this are Andrea Sorrentino and Giuseppe Camuncoli. Okay. Why does this arc exist?
I am still unsure. I'm gonna be honest with you. I really don't know. Like, it's, oh my god. Why did we do this?
Yeah. Here's the other thing. Worry about this issue?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like, realistically, nothing's really new besides the fact that we know who trained Joker now, I guess.
Yeah.
Because the future stuff isn't his past, it's future.
Also, the future stuff doesn't also really seem to matter either.
No, it doesn't at all.
Here's the thing. For this being the third and final part of a story arc called Joker Year One, this issue sure didn't have a lot of Joker Year One-ing. The Joker's barely in the flashback stuff in this. Like, he is there, but the flashback part of the story is mostly just a Jim Gordon beats up corrupt cops.
Yeah.
While the Joker's just kind of there in the background. He's not really doing anything. He's just kind of in the back. I mean, he does a little bit of stuff. Like, he breaks into the armory, and then, like, that's kind of it. I mean, he tortures one of his henchmen from the Red Hood gang in, like, the end of the issue. And then he, like, goes in and is implied to kill everybody in that bar that beat him up in the first part of this arc. But it's like it's barely a Joker story. And then the flash forward stuff, that only first of all, it only has like the loosest connection to the flashback stuff, because they mention McCloud, who is the main person that Jim Gordon is kind of trying to beat up. He's the head of he's the commissioner, and this is before Jim became commissioner. So like they mention him as like being part of the clue for the fucking future stuff. I do think that the future stuff is still better, but I don't know why it's here. I think that, first of all, again, the art in the future section is just better. I just like it more. I think the Andrea Sorrentino art in there is really good. It's less creepy than it was in the last issue, because the Joker is not as much in that one even then. Also, is it just me, or does the future Batman look exactly like Ben Affleck?
It does.
Yeah, I thought so. I was like, what the hell is going on here? I do like in the future stuff how there was the end, because essentially the way the future stuff wraps up is that Joker pops up and just gives Bruce the solution to the Joker like infection thing. He just essentially just tells him what it is. And what I really like is after that you see Bruce kind of thinking and being like, okay, because we know clearly, like, we know by this point the Joker will never kill Bruce because he does not really exist without Batman. Like, he would just kind of self-destruct and implode without Batman there to foil him. What I really liked here is that the Joker won, and Bruce was really shaken by that. And he goes, how many times could the Joker have won but decided not to? And it's a really interesting angle. I like that idea.
Yeah.
That being said, the cure to the Joker infection was just bats, and I thought that was weird. So I didn't really like that part. But I like the rest of the idea behind that future.
It's symbolic.
I know it's symbolic, but I'm just like, how the fuck does that even work? I know it's like echolocation cancels out the fucking laugh from the Joker. This is like, and it's all comic book logic. I get that. I had no problem with Batman falling from the moon to Earth in the first part of in the finale of Failsafe arc. But it's just like this kind of thing is just like, I'm like, that's dumb. I don't get it.
Yeah. So Yeah, I mean, I agree basically the exact same thing what you said. Don't really know why this is a thing. I loved that whole idea of like Batman like contemplating Joker being like this entire time, like Joker like I don't remember the exact words, but I remember he said like he hates the Joker, but he refuses to kill him, and the Joker like it's the same thing, kind of like vice versa with the Batman.
Yeah, Joker was like, he's like, I love you, that's why I refuse to kill you.
Yeah.
And Batman is like, I hate you, but I refuse to kill you.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly what it was. And then yeah, like Bruce being like, how many times has he really just like let me win? Like how many times just let me stop him just because he doesn't want me to die, essentially. And then yeah, the president stuff, I guess it was fine, I guess.
Yeah.
I thought maybe we'd see like, oh, maybe this is where Commissioner Gordon first sees Joker, but no, they don't even like they're close to each other.
They're technically in the same room, but yeah.
Yeah, they're in the same room, all of that stuff, but like it doesn't like Joker doesn't he only does stuff to the other detective. It really doesn't shed a lot of more light that like it doesn't shed more stuff that we actually really needed.
Yeah.
Let's just say like we didn't really need any of this new information about the Joker.
Yeah.
In the end. Like I was excited for this. I thought we might get like actual useful information, but this was just rehashed. Like I feel like in the end it was just rehashed information.
Yeah.
That was just like solely unnecessary. And yeah, I think and this one specifically, I really like the future stuff, a lot more than the past stuff, and yeah, I gave it a 6.
I give it a 7. That could change. I could give it a 6, but
yeah,
I read this recently enough, like 3 hours ago recently, that I have not changed my thoughts on it yet. So yeah, 7 for now. Okay, let's head on over to Wonder Woman. We only have 2 left. Okay, we've got Wonder Woman number 6, written by Tom King. The artist is Daniel Sampere. This is the finale of this arc. So here's the thing with this one.
Let's hear it.
It's pretty decent. I think it's better than the last issue. That being said, I do still have some problems with it. Primarily, first of all, this is essentially just a big brawl issue between Wonder Woman and a bunch of other people. There's a brief session at the start where Steve Trevor like gets fucking possessed or something and then passes out, and he's like, they're here. But other than that, it's just kind of this big brawl between Wonder Woman and some other characters. Specifically, we get her fighting Giganta. That like her name's not Deathbird, but it's something similar.
Isn't it Silver? No,
Silver Swan. Yeah.
Silver Swan. Yeah.
And then also Grail, who is the daughter of Darkseid. Her introduction, by the way, really cool. I really like that.
Really
the way it was, the panels and everything, it was really cool. I think that was a really good character entrance, and I think their interaction was really good. My main problem with this issue, and really with this series at this point, is also essentially the only real talking point and note I have for this issue, which is, for the love of God, Sovereign needs to shut the fuck up.
We agree so much. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm sick of him. Like he just talks and he just drones. It's impossible.
He narrates every fucking thing in this issue to the degree it's just fucking ridiculous. Like, some of that narration is fine, and I kind of get what they're going for, because I think to a degree it adds some kind of big grand mythic proportions. It makes it kind of have a more dramatic feel with him, kind of framing everything as this big epic confrontation between their organization and Wonder Woman, and I get that. There's just too much of it. Like, I think it's mostly well written, and I don't mind it conceptually, but the calibration is way off. Because, like, every fucking page, Sovereign is narrating everything. He will not stop. It is infuriating. I'm just like, Jesus, let the actual story speak for itself. Like, I think if you took out, like, half of Sovereign's narration, this issue would be, like, 1 to maybe 2 stars better, genuinely. Like, that's all it would take. But it's just, he just drones on and on and on. Also, this is the issue where I kind of realized that this is apparently, this Sovereign narration is from a point way in the future, it seems like. It just seems being like, oh, yeah, back then we thought this. And which brings me to my other kind of less major, but still still a point that I have on this, which is that the cliffhangers are starting to feel pretty repetitive too. Because I feel like every issue recently, it's been Sovereign being like, we thought we had Wonder Woman right where we wanted her, but it turns out she had us right where she wanted us, and we underestimated her, and that won't happen again. It's just like, we get it. You underestimated Wonder Woman. You don't have to tell us every issue. Like, I understand that concept. So, like, the fight was pretty solid.
I love the fight. It was great in my opinion.
Good. But like, I'm so sick of Sovereign and him just feeling the need to talk about literally every punch that's thrown in the fight. I'm just like, shut up.
No, yeah. I wholly agree. Sovereign needs to shut up. Like, the fight, like, I understand, okay, maybe narrate the fight of what the original plan was. Like, not even narrate, just like explain what the original plan was. And, we see it basically unfold. And, at first it was going well, but then it unfolded towards the end, really. And that would have been fine, in my opinion. It would have gave him, like, a little bit less talking points. But, yeah, man, he just drones and drones and drones. And, when because he has mostly narrating, and then, but we also see him just in a couple just points where he's just talking, like.
Is he in this issue in that way, though? I don't think he is.
Yeah, there was the one point where, like, she actually defeated Grail, and we saw him, like, talking.
Oh, right. He's like, God damn it all,
Yeah, where he was, like, pissed. And, that one didn't bother me, because it's just, it's not narrating.
Right.
Fucking fight. Like, Jesus Christ, just shut up. Let me just read this fight.
He's also, it's so egregious to the point where he's like, there's a point where nobody else is in the air. Like, the fight between Wonder Woman and Grail. Yes. They made the point that it's just them there. But he keeps saying, like, then he keeps going on. He's like, some people who are as far away as this park, they say that they heard their fights echoing across the way.
No.
And congressmen would say that they were watching from the Capitol, and they were watching every detail, and they would all laugh about it, and they would, and the president saw it, and he mentioned it in his speech, and he just goes on and on about all of these fucking insignificant details. I'm like, bro, you yourself say there's nobody there. Just say there's nobody. You don't have to. And then he's like, even though nobody was there, some speculate that this is how it would have happened. And then he, like, details. I'm like, oh my God.
Fuck,
for the love of God, stop talking, please.
Yeah, but the art specifically in the fights is what really got me.
That's great. Yeah.
It's the, like, bloodied up Wonder Woman just, like, still holding her ground against just, like, a central, like, other god that is, like, not, like, even phased yet, and just Wonder Woman standing her ground against her is just great.
Yeah.
It really, like,
great, this whole arc. Yeah.
It really just drills home the fact that Wonder Woman is just, like, one of the most powerful people in DC, period. Mm-hmm. Like, I feel like in a lot of other issues, they don't really paint it that way, and I think this series as a whole is doing a great job of showing why she is who she is. Because I'm referring also back to, like, some of the earlier issues where, she was just constantly fighting the army.
Yeah, I think that was the best showcase of that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, I don't know. But regardless, I still really, like, I really enjoyed this issue. It would have been higher if there was less Sovereign narration.
Yeah.
And so I gave it a 7.
I also have it at a 7. I really debated it back and forth between 7 and 6 for this one. That narration, like, because at the start of this issue, I was like, this is good. This is like an 8 out of 10 for me. And then the more it went on, the more Sovereign talked, and the more he talked, the lower my rating sank. I was just like, oh God. So I don't know. I'm going to leave it at a 7 for now. I think there was some good stuff in there, absolutely. And, I'm hoping, because the next issue is kind of taking a sidetrack from the Sovereign story. It's going to be a Superman team up. Mm-hmm. I'm hoping, I swear to God, I'm going to say this right now. Well, okay, I'm not sure if I'm going to go that far. I was going to say, if the Sovereign narration is their next issue, I'm out. I'm dropping the book. Because it's unrelated to the actual plot of that issue, because it's just a Superman team up issue, and they're going to, like, space and stuff, and like a space mall or something. I'm not gonna go quite that far, but I'm gonna be really pissed if the Sovereign Nation is their next issue. Narration is their next issue. Okay. Well, anyway, that would lead us to the final issue of the episode, and that is Titans number 8. Should be a pretty quick discussion here because there's not a whole lot to talk about here.
It really isn't.
It is essentially the fallout of Beast World, of Titans Beast World, and the kind of, how that has affected the Titans. I said in that issue, the last issue of Titans Beast World, when you're talking about that, I didn't think, it didn't really seem like Beast World ended up having a huge impact on the wider DC universe as a whole. That is, of course, still a bit up in the air. Like, we don't know because it's so recent, we don't know, like, what upcoming things could, kind of fall into place that were set in place from Beast World. But as of right now, it doesn't seem like that set up a whole lot of stuff for the wider DC universe. But I did say, looks like it's going to have some really interesting effects on the Titans. And absolutely, I think it absolutely has. This issue kind of takes a pretty hard left turn away from the events of the first arc and even most of Beast World, because now it's mostly dealing with, there's two kind of main fronts in this issue that is kind of focusing on. The first is the one that's more directly kind of dealing with some elements that were present throughout the entirety of Beast World, which is the mistrust and division of opinion when it comes to the Titans themselves as a team. So as such, because of that, there's heavy focus here on Gar, Beast Boy, as he kind of tries to navigate that, since he was Garo and he kind of had, even though it wasn't him controlling them, the spores were part of him. So like most of that mistrust is focused on him. That was good to see, I think, because despite Titans Beast World kind of being set up and launched off because of Beast Boy, he was not in it much. So it's good to see him kind of having a more substantial role here. Then the other part of the story, which I think is the more interesting part, is the Dark Raven's like her mission to infiltrate the Titans team. Through that, we see she talks with Trigon, who is her dad. I think those conversations are really cool. Really into that whole story, and I also just think it adds some cool new dynamics into the team, which just shifts things up in a way that I think is really interesting and makes it feel fresh and not so, not at risk of getting stale or anything. Granted, like, those dynamics are not completely front and center yet because it is a very recent development. Like, none of the team know that she's Dark Raven yet, but it is like you can see her kind of starting to kind of move those pieces into place little by little, because essentially her plan is like, I'm going to make the Titans be my minions, essentially, and then I'm just going to like control the Titans and they can do what I want. And then Trigon's like, oh, I like the sound of that. And then he reveals that she's apparently going to evolve into like this kaiju-sized Dark Queen Raven or something. Granted, I don't think that's how it's going to play out. I think it's more likely that the Titans are going to, like, through her time with the Titans, they're going to change her outlook on the world, and she's going to like release Rachel from the stone, and they're going to like part ways to live their separate lives and just in the world. But I really like that angle, because other than that, it's just like the Titans fight a hurricane. That's kind of the main action sequence here. But Dark Raven stuff is cool. I think the mistrust of the Titans works. I think I like it. Generally, I really like this issue. I actually think it was a really solid issue, and I think it's continuing the momentum from Beast World in a really effective way that I'm really interested to see kind of where it goes.
Yes. Yeah, I also really like this one. For me, it wasn't really the mistrust of the Titans. Mostly, it was because you did it for me, right? Because you saw Titans rescuing people just fine in the hurricane, right? It wasn't until like Beast Boy showed up by himself in a house that you really saw that mistrust going in. And even when the rest of the Titans showed up, like they were able to calm down the situation as long as Gar left himself. So it seems less fixated on the Titans as a whole, at least right now, and more just on Beast Boy.
In that section, yes, I think, but there's the point where they're watching the TV and they're having that debate. Granted, it is Steel who's talking, Sergeant Steel, who is not like, he's obviously like a main villain right now in Wonder Woman, but he is saying like the Titans should not be trusted. Like the Titans as a whole, like they got our drones and everything. Like what if they got our drones for another thing? So I think that's kind of where the Titans team mistrust. I think that's where I got that from.
See, I kind of canceled that one out clearly because the mayor as well was like backing them in general. Yeah, that's true. And I kind of like taking his word with a grain of salt, obviously, because he's on Waller's side, stuff like that, So it's like,
and also the Sovereign side.
The Sovereign side, not even Waller. It's not even Waller, really. It's Sovereign. So they're against heroes, stuff like that. So I took his with a grain of salt and looked more towards like the actual public. And so but then besides that, it was really just Yeah, I guess is Tempest part of the Titans again now?
Good question. I don't really know. He's
Yeah.
there. He saves the boats. Yeah.
So he fights the hurricane.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, I think and it's like I am definitely curious with how the whole Raven bit is gonna go. I wonder if you're gonna be correct in your little theory there. I really don't know how that one's gonna go down. I think if anything, maybe Garfield will realize something's wrong.
He will probably be the first to notice. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I'm assuming. Maybe I'm wrong because he's also like supposedly missing chunks of his brain because of
It'll be
Gar
Gar or Dick. It'll be one of those two. I think it'll be Gar, but I think if it's not Gar, it'll be Dick. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll see how that goes down. But yeah, other than that, I genuinely enjoyed this issue. It was honestly it was just such an easy and quick read that I breezed through this so fast that I literally was like shocked that I finished it. I was like, oh shit, I'm done. I was like, God damn. Yeah, but yeah, I gave it what it is. This is a 7. I gave it a 7.
I gave it an 8. Okay, well, that wraps this episode up. Next week, in terms of sheer volume, there are less comics coming out next week, but the quality, really, is all mostly stuff I'm really interested in. Amazon's Attack, I don't think I don't really like that series that much. But
no.
Yeah, that's that series is almost over though. There's Avengers Twilight next week. Really love that series. I think that's a great series. I'm excited for that. New issue of Duke. It's Energon Universe, so I am interested in it just because of that, because I like the Energon Universe generally. But yeah, I didn't love the last issue, so I'm hoping this will kind of be a step back up again. Also, new issue of The Flash. Let's go. I can't say I love this series, but I am just always so interested to read it. Like, I'm just fascinated by this series. Green Arrow number 9, liking Green Arrow lately. I think it's really solid. Immortal Thor number 7. That last issue has been my favorite comic of the year so far. Favorite individual comic of the year so far. So I'm really, really looking forward to reading this one. This series has just jumped so far up on my list of most anticipated for every week it comes out. Then we also have new issues of Rare Flavors and World Tree, 2 indie series, both of which I quite enjoy.
Let's see. We got Power Girl number 6, new arc there. So we'll see how that goes. Edenwood number 5, and What If Venom.
All right. Well, yeah, thank you everybody for listening or watching on whatever platform you may be listening or watching on. If you are over on YouTube, you can like the video if you enjoyed watching the video. You can also subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more of our videos and podcast stuff that we do. And you can also hit the bell notification to make sure that you don't miss a new upload from us. If you would like to let us know what you're thinking about the current state of comics yourself, some of the stuff that you really like or are excited for coming up, you can leave us a comment on YouTube, of course. And if you would like to let us know your thoughts on comics and all that stuff, and you are listening over on Spotify, you can do so at our email address. That is earthsmightiestcomicspod@gmail.com. That is all one word there. And then, yeah, you can also follow the show over on Spotify as well if you want to make sure that you don't miss any episodes over there. So yes, thank you again, everybody, for listening, as always. And we will see you all in the next one.